Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Get ready to have your mind blown, because today we're diving into 20 historical facts that sound completely made up, but are 100% true. I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll be questioning everything you thought you knew about the past. Let's get started. First up, let's talk about timelines. Did you know that Cleopatra lived closer in time to the first moon landing than to the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza? That's right. The pyramids were already ancient history by the time she came to power. It's a staggering thought that puts the sheer scale of ancient Egyptian civilization into perspective. Speaking of ancient timelines, how about this one? Oxford University was already teaching students for several centuries before the Aztec Empire was even founded in 1428. Think about that. While one of the world's most prestigious universities was shaping young minds in England, the civilization that would build Tenochtitlan hadn't even begun its rise. Now, let's get into some weird daily habits. How did ancient Romans keep their pearly whites, well, white? They used a toothpaste mixture that sometimes included crushed mouse brains. Yep, you heard me. They believed the mashed-up brains would help relieve toothaches. I think I'll stick with my mint-flavored paste. Thank you very much. Here's a fact that connects the 18th century directly to today. John Tyler, the 10th President of the United States, who was born in 1790, has two grandsons who are still alive right now. It sounds impossible, but it's true. His son, Lyon Gardner Tyler, had children late in life, creating this incredible two-generation link to a man born when George Washington was president. When you think of samurai, you probably picture male warriors. But what about the Onibugeisha? These were trained female warriors from the Japanese upper class who fought right alongside their male counterparts. They were skilled in combat and expected to defend their homes, families, and honor. Talk about girl power, centuries ahead of its time. Imagine having the best view in Paris all to yourself. Well, Gustave Eiffel did just that. When he designed his famous tower, he built a secret, cozy apartment for himself right at the very top. He used it to entertain guests like Thomas Edison and enjoy the breathtaking panoramic views. It's still there today, a hidden gem 1,000 feet in the air. Let's debunk a famous myth. Napoleon Bonaparte wasn't actually short. He was about 5 feet 7 inches, which was average height for a Frenchman in the early 19th century. The idea of Little Napoleon was largely the result of British propaganda and a confusion between French and English units of measurement. The original smear campaign really stuck. Ever heard of a country losing a war to birds? Well, it happened. In 1932, Australia declared war on emus that were ravaging farmlands. The military was sent in with machine guns, but the emus were too fast and clever. They scattered in all directions, making them impossible targets. After a week of failure and public ridicule, the army withdrew. The emus won. Contrary to popular belief, Vikings weren't just messy raiders. They were surprisingly obsessed with grooming. Archaeological finds have uncovered combs, tweezers, razors, and even ear spoons. They also bathed at least once a week, which was far more frequently than other Europeans of their time. They were clean, stylish, and ready to conquer. Imagine an alarm clock you could only use once. The very first mechanical alarm clock, invented by Levi Hutchins in 1787, was designed to wake him up for work at 4 a.m. and could only ring at that specific time. It couldn't be reset. If you wanted it to ring at a different time, you'd basically have to build a new clock. Here's a fascinating what if from modern history. In 1952, after the death of Israel's first president, the position was offered to none other than Albert Einstein. He was deeply moved by the offer, but politely declined, stating he lacked the natural aptitude and experience to deal with people in an official capacity. Blink and you'll miss it. The shortest war in recorded history was between Britain and the Sultanate of Zanzibar on August 27, 1896. How long did it last? A mere 38 minutes. After the Sultan refused to step down, the British Royal Navy bombarded the palace. and the conflict was over before most people had finished their morning tea. This next one is just bizarre. In the year 897, Pope Stephen VI held a trial for his dead predecessor, Pope Formosus. He had the 9-month-old corpse exhumed, dressed in papal robes, and propped up on a throne to face charges. A deacon was appointed to speak for the deceased. Unsurprisingly, the corpse was found guilty. Before social media, how did people send strange messages? With weird postcards. Victorians had a peculiar fascination with novelty mail, sending postcards shaped like everything from shoes and spoons to fish and even miniature coffins. It was a quirky way to send a message that definitely stood out from the rest of the mail. Next time you take a quick selfie, remember this. The world's first ever photograph took about 8 hours to capture. Taken in 1826 by Joseph Nicephore Niepce, the image, titled View from the Window at Le Gras, required an incredibly long exposure time. He basically had to leave his camera pointing at the same spot all day. Think board games are a modern invention? Think again. Ancient Egyptians were avid players of a game called Senet. It's one of the oldest known board games in the world, with game boards found in tombs dating back over 5,000 years. It was so popular that it was believed the deceased's journey in the afterlife was like a game of Senet. Family drama doesn't get more intense than this. During World War II, Adolf Hitler's own nephew, William Patrick Hitler, fought against him. Born in Britain, William moved to the U.S., and after writing a personal letter to President Roosevelt, was cleared to join the U.S. Navy. He served as a pharmacist's mate and was honorably discharged after being wounded in combat. Here's a fairy tale-like story from Imperial Russia. In 1740, Empress Anna Ivanovna commissioned a massive palace to be built entirely out of ice for a royal wedding. The structure was complete with ice furniture, ice sculptures, and even ice cannons that fired. It was a stunning, albeit temporary, architectural marvel that melted away in the spring. Before the railways standardized everything, time was a local affair. In the medieval period, each town set its own clocks based on the sun's position. Noon was when the sun was highest in the sky. This meant that two towns just a few miles apart could have slightly different times. Traveling would have been a chronological adventure. And finally, let's fix a common misconception about the first U.S. president. George Washington did not have wooden teeth. He suffered from dental problems his whole life and wore multiple sets of dentures, but they were crafted from far more advanced materials for the time, including ivory, gold, lead, and even human and animal teeth, like those from a donkey. And that's a wrap on 20 shocking facts that prove history is way stranger than fiction. Which one surprised you the most? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this trip through the bizarre side of history, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.